Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl, Beck, and welcome to the first episode of Plants Talk. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This has been something I've really wanted to jumpstart for a while. I actually had everything already made up for the new venture, but it took me a while to really feel out how I wanted the video to go. But now that we're here, I'm super excited. For the first video, I'm sure, as you know by the title, we are gonna talk about studying course materials, what I'm reading, and just kind of a little bit about how I study. I won't say how to study. I feel like everybody can study in their own way, and what feels right to them feels right to them. But just kind of how I study and all that good stuff. But before that, I'll introduce myself one last time. Here we go. So my name is Beck Quinn. I have kind of had my hands really deep into agriculture and agricultural studies, farming, homesteading, herbalism, plants, and the science of plants, and all that great jazz. And not just plants, but also just things in nature as well. So stones and stuff like that. I have been really deep into those things for the last 4 years. It's something I've been really passionate about, especially when it comes to passing these things to my daughter, as well as sharing these things with the community. And yeah, I'm really excited to launch this platform because I want this to be a space where we're just talking about nature, plants, and how they coexist, and how we coexist with them, and how we use them for our betterment. And so yes, that's me, and that's what we're gonna do here. So for me personally, I've always been a self-study herbalist, self-study when it comes to pretty much everything, like my agriculture work, my tiny farm that I had, and I have something big coming in the fall, which I'm really excited for. It's kind of experimental, but yeah, like I said, herbalism, spirit stone studies, all that stuff. I've always been kind of a self-study, and I feel like self-studying is awesome. I feel like any route you take is really awesome. If you want to go with the more structured route and go through maybe a homeopathic school or herbalism courses, then shout out to you. I feel like self-study gives you more of an opportunity to slow down and do things on your own time frame and digest things. But I also know that some of those courses do offer, that as well, where you can read through the material on your own. But for me personally, I've always been a self-study girl, and I have been self-studying this entire time. I've looked into courses, but none of them really felt quite right for me. So yeah. So when I say course material, or when I use the word course material, I'm just talking about if you're a self-study, then this could be course material for you. Or if you are studying in an actual course and you're looking for study guides or just things to give you more knowledge, or even just things you can read to implement what you're learning in your courses in your everyday life, this could also be kind of like course material. So when I say we're going over course material, I just mean these are things that are great study tools that you can use as self-study or not, but definitely as self-study. And so we're going to get into that. So the first thing I want to do is kind of go over a couple books that I have and kind of talk books and the importance of variety in your books. So let's start by going over the books that I have, okay? And fair warning, right? As we're going through Plants Talk and we're talking more about these things, obviously, and you're going to see when I go through the books, not all of these books are specifically herbalism books, but I think it's important to note that everything can be used in some sort of way. Nothing is a weed, nothing is just a plant. There's going to be a lot of variety, and like I said, we're going to talk about the variety. Well, let's start light, and then we'll get into the deep cuts later. Okay, very light, very obvious. Okay, this book right here, can you see her? Okay, this book right here is great. This is the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. Okay, now I got this version, and the one that is spiral. Now the spiral, there's no E right there, but yes. This book is really great. It's definitely a really good cross-reference tool, and we'll even talk about cross-referencing and everything like that. But this book is great. This was the first book I ever got in my herbalism self-study. It was recommended to me as a great starting place, and I genuinely feel like it's a pretty good starting place. Not even pretty good. I mean, it's a great starting point. It's got a lot of good pictures, references, and just everything that you might need to understand some of these things better. And it even has like helpful tools and guides on how to make teas and how to make tinctures and things like that, and how to test, which is also a really big thing in herbalism. Is they talk a lot in here about how to test the herbs appropriately so that you don't, you know what I mean, hurt yourself. Okay, I have learned in my self-study that there are herbs that I was looking for or wanted to know more about that were not in here. But overall, this is a great place to start, and it's a great place to continue on. I mean, that's the whole thing about cross-referencing, is that you're never done with one book. You're never done with the book. You're always going to come back to the book. So Encyclopedia for Herbal Medicine, great place to start. It's a great book to just have if you're a self-study or not. Either way, it's a great book to have. So there's that. So again, keeping with the theme of just starting, I guess, kind of like basic, or, you know, we're not going into the deep cuts yet, I'll say that. Next is going to be gardening basics for dummies. Okay, now I've heard good and bad things about reviews for the For Dummies books, but listen, in the beginning, I was dummies. We've all been dummies. Do you understand what I'm saying? But this book, honestly, has so much information in it. It was great. And it doesn't just talk to you about vegetables. There's different sections. So there's vegetable gardening, there's flower gardens. I think there's like herbal kitchen section. So really great book. I believe there's some misconceptions in here about weeds, but I'll touch on that more because I feel like there are general misconceptions about weeds and what are weeds and what are not weeds. But overall, great book, great way to really get into the basics of how to nurture a plant, how to care for a plant. And, you know, you can't have herbalism if you don't got plant. All right. So this is really a great book on the basics of plants and just like root systems and how they grow, and really understanding the nuance of a plant and how to grow a plant. Let's say you're not going to grow your own plants, right? Even if you're not going to grow your own plants, it still can give you a lot of hints on, is a plant healthy or is it not? You know, so then if you're going to pick out fresh herbs, you're still going into it with more knowledge. So great book. Okay, one more basic one. So this is kind of one I was talking about. But this one is The Houseplant Expert, the world's best-selling book on houseplants. This book is great. I love when there's not just words, but there's pictures, and even pictures with color. I know, does that sound childish? I don't know. But because you really need to know what you're looking for, and it really tells you different types of foliage and how you know if something's healthy or unhealthy. And again, not every plant is just a plant. You know, you can have a aloe vera as a house plant, but aloe vera also has medicinal purposes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So things like this are good to have. My favorite section in here is the citrus house plant section, because it really helps you understand that like you can grow like fruits and things like that if you wanted to in your house. And even the gardening book also explains that. So yeah, this good book. Grab it. As you can see on the back, they have a lot of other ones like the Container Expert, things like that. But yeah, good book. I recommend. Next book, now we're getting into the deep cuts. Okay, so hold on tight. It's gonna be okay. So this next one is actually a recent purchase. It's called Edible Flowers, a Kitchen Companion with Recipes. Okay. And this is a good example of how plants are also intersect with our own everyday lives and how we can use them to our benefit. And so this book I saw just the other day actually, and I was just reading it. Like, let's say you wanted to make a meal, but you didn't want it to be just any old regular meal. You wanted it to have some sort of medicine. You could start in the Encyclopedia of Herbs and think like, okay, I need something for this. And what's a way I can incorporate that into my life every day? And you could pop right in here and find a recipe for that. And so this is what I mean by everything is intersectional, and there's intersectionality in all things when it comes to nature and plant lives and our own lives. And I think this is a great example of that. And I think this is a great way to have fun incorporating herbalism and herbology into your everyday life. So yes, I love this one. And yeah, the recipes sound really good. I can't wait to make one out of here. So yeah. Okay, so this next one that I want to do is kind of just came to me unknowingly. Actually, very much unknowingly. The people who made this book were actually my daughter's first ever pediatricians. And we love them. Shout out to Partners in Pediatrics. I loved them. They were my daughter's doctors back when we were in Colorado, and they were the first people we ever took her to, and we loved it so much we stayed. Even when we lived up the mountain, we would drive 30 plus minutes down the mountain to see them because we really loved them, and we kind of really just clicked with how they did things there. And this will be a good example of that. But this book here, there it is. Okay, this book here is called Naturally Healthy Kids. And like I said, you can look in the cover and it says Partners in Pediatrics, and it's even got like the Denver location. It's got all of their locations. And it says integrating conventional and holistic treatment for common childhood illness. This book, I'm telling you, is golden. It's golden, and it's an A to Z guide. And it's got good stuff. So here's their little contents thing for how you can flip for, these are just the top 10 concerns that parents have, like fever, injuries, pink eye, headache, sore throat, things like that. So, okay, so here we landed on asthma, okay? This is what we landed on. We landed on asthma, all right? It first gives you aromatherapy. Then it gives you herbal remedies right here, a whole list of herbal remedies. And then it gives you homeopathic remedies after that. Nutritional supplements, so supplements that could be good, dietary guidelines. And then at the very end, it says, okay, when to call your healthcare provider. You know what I'm saying? After you tried, then this is when. It's kind of what they do, Or like, not even after you tried this, but like, let's say you're already here. Okay, you should call, right? I just loved that. Like, as a mom who was really into just trying to avoid unnecessary medications and prescriptions for a child, yes, love this. So if you have kids, if you have kitties, and you can find you a way to order this is really great. One thing about the other books that I find different from this book is that a lot of that stuff doesn't really have measurements for a child. Let's be clear. There's some people who don't know this, but children should not be taking the same amount of, it's similar to medicine. It's medicine. And children should not be having the same amount as adults can have. It affects them differently. You might find a tea recipe in another herbal book and think like, okay, this is what I need to make for my child. And you might accidentally, give too much. And so this is really geared towards and centered towards children. And if you're trying to do the holistic thing all around and you have a family, this will really help. And I'm sure there's other books like this. But yeah, this is one we actually got from my daughter's pediatrician office, which is awesome. Shout out to Partners in Pediatrics in Denver. If you're in Denver, they're A1. Loved them down. The next book, and I'm sure y'all have heard me talk about this book before, Platinum Edition, The Textbook of African Holistic Health. This book, y'all, look how thick it is. Look how thick it is. It's like almost as thick. It's probably as thick as like Twilight. This book is thick, and there's a lot of knowledge in here. Now, disclaimer. Okay, there are words in here that are not my own. Okay, We're talking about herbalism. There are words in here that are not my own regarding people. Okay, so if you're of the Caucasian descent and you don't get triggered easily, then you should rock with this. You can see, like, I've been highlighting and stuff. The beginning is just about, you know, about the author, the foreword and things like that. And you know what I like about this book is that it breaks things down in a way that I feel like you can understand. It'll take like a scientific structure, and it'll put it in like super layman's terms. Like, and so I really like that about this, because it's not just teaching you about herbs. This is teaching about human anatomy and the biology of a human being as well, and why these specific herbs interact the way that they do with your body. Like, this here is a whole page about vein shapes in the whites of your eyes, and what different shapes of different veins mean in the whites of your eyes, and what they can mean. This is like a hand and foot chart, and it's telling you kind of what areas of your feet and your hand are connected to what organs and other parts of your body. It's really breaking it down, and it's really trying to get you to understand all of the nuanced details of how these herbs are actually working for you. This book has 703 pages. Do you understand? Going cover to cover in this is it's not going to be easy, but I was trying to. I'm still trying to. It's going to take me a while. I'm going to make it to the end. I'll tell you that. You could find pretty much any ailment that you can think of in here, and it'll do the same thing. It'll give you the herbal, the homeopathic, the food, all of that. So this is a great read. That's the author there. And I suggest, yeah, highly recommended. Highly recommended. It says bestseller, and it's earned that, I believe. Really good book. Really good book. So get into that, okay? So this is the last one. This is also kind of a new addition to my source material, but I mean, so far I'm in love with it. So, but yes, this book is called Instant Herbal Locator. I love like the illustration. I think it's so cute. This book is very similar to the others. However, when they say instant, they mean instant. And I like it because I feel like it gives you a really good jumping off point, and I'll explain that. The first chapter is alphabetical references. And then the next chapter is about how to make your own healing tincture. So it's got, you know, some how-tos. It's got some formulas, and then it's got additional recipes, and then it also has specialty blends from the author. But the reason why I say this is a good jumping off point is because you'll see, like, it's got whatever the thing may be, and then it's got underneath like what you can use. And so yeah, it's got everything, PMS, you know, all that good stuff. And girl, you know, I need a good PMS remedy, okay? It's super slim. It's really easy to flip through. And again, when they say instant, they mean instant. Pick a nice, good 3 books, and just kind of, you know, somebody starts to come down with something, hop through your books, make your list of the things you need, make your shopping list, and head to an apothecary or somewhere that you know sells loose herbs and get what you need. That's how I would do it. That's usually how I would use the books in a pinch. But I also did want to touch on diversity. It's all about diversity. There was another book that I had gifted to my dad. And if I can find the title, I will put a picture of it up. But that book was a herbal medicine book that specified that it was more so knowledge that they had gathered from plants and herbs found in Europe. And maybe other European areas. Obviously, this book is more African-based, as you can tell. And then you have your Chinese medicine books, which, oh, I want a Chinese medicine book so bad. Some books are more science-focused, like the Encyclopedia. Some are more cultural. The best thing about that is that you really get a full scope of herbalism in all its forms and on all of its levels and from all of its people. And I don't believe in having an echo chamber of anything. And I feel like herbalism is something that we could definitely fall unintentionally into an echo chamber of. I think it really limits what you're able to do with herbs and the interactions you're able to have with them. Having variety within your herbal studies and within your course material is really going to be good for you in the long term. The last thing I want to touch on today is how I study. So the first thing I want to say about studying is understand that it's going to take you a long time to study it all. Like, even me now, like, there's some things that I'll like hear in conversation. I'll be like, okay, I know that, I know that, I know that. But when it comes down to herbalism, you have to always understand that you're never going to know everything. Even the folks that we admire online that we feel like know so much about herbal studies and herbalism, they don't know everything. And a lot of the times, a lot of us who are working in herbal studies or trying to self-study and stuff, we're reading out of our notes, to be honest, because it's just so, like, you see how big these books are. It's just so much to try to memorize on your own. So have the course material, study it slow, go through it slow. Sometimes even the best way to study is to use it in an applicable setting. So like I said before, if someone gets sick, you go look for cold and flu. You're having an ache and pain, go in there, look for that. Because those are things that are common and they're going to happen to you a lot, or they're going to happen to someone you know a lot. And so the next time that someone has something similar along that line, or yourself, you'll be able to whip that knowledge out. Like, the muscle memory of understanding the knowledge will come back to you. And so that way, those core things that you need to know will be in there. Because when those things happen, you'll be on it because you already know. So if you haven't picked up your herbal textbook in a month, but you've been picking up this book, it's okay. It's fine. So that's the first thing. It's like, no pressure, like, chill, but you have the material. That's a really big part, is that you have the material. You can go in and look at it at any point in time that you want. The next step is kind of studying and how you want to study and why you are studying. If you're studying and you're looking into these things because you have a family and you just would like to treat your family in a way that's more natural, then you don't have to study in a way that's super inquisitive. You can just kind of do what I said and stick to the things that you would want to know or would have happen in your home. But if you're studying because you're super inquisitive about these things, then that really opens the door to way more options on studying, how to study, and things like that. So the first thing that I did was, obviously, I got me a good notebook. You got to get you a good notebook or a notepad. So like, I have a notebook that has some herbal stuff written in it. And then I also have a notepad. Notepads are good for when you're just out, or like something like this that you can slide in your purse, like you can open and write in, you know, things like that are good. And also you can tuck a pen away in there. Once you start walking around the world and you really start studying these things, that's when you realize that there is no such thing as a good plant or a bad plant. And when you really break that down, the world opens up and you become so curious. And so the first thing that I did was, again, got those notebooks. I also got a plant identifying app on my phone. When I would go out on hikes or walks or whatever, if I saw something that I got curious about and wasn't sure what was what, I would snap a picture of it, put it through the plant identifier app. I would get the name, the scientific name, and just whatever the app had to offer about if the plant has medicinal purposes and what those purposes might be. And when I got home, I would research those things in my books and just kind of look at them. And if something stuck out to me, I would write it down. And that was a really good way to really get the ball rolling for me. So if you're really inquisitively studying, that would be a good place to start. And even if you don't get an app, right, you could just take a picture of the plant. You could put it in Google search, the Google image search, or you could take a picture of it and crack open one of the books. There's people who have like binders where they've dried the plants and they can really like look at the plant. And I think that's really cool. And I'm hoping to do that as well. But the only thing about that is that you want to know what you're handling, because you could pick something and then like, you know, scratch your nose and now your face is numb, or like your lip is drooping or something because you didn't necessarily look into how to handle the plant. So before you start picking anything, definitely start by taking pictures. But that's a good place to start, because then once you research, again, like I said, how to handle the plant, now if you want to take it a step further and make a dried plant binder or book, now you know how to handle the plant so that you can do that and kind of break down like even just the structure of the plant if that was something that you wanted to do. I went on a venture to make my own materia medica just for my local area. I started this in Colorado, but I never finished it, and that's something I want to restart again. But a materia medica is essentially a herbal encyclopedia of your own that you've made and how you could and would use those plants. A really good way to study is once you've taken pictures or whatever of those plants, you can then say, hey, I want to form my own materia medica. And you can get a binder or a notebook or whatever and look up all of those things like I just said, like the plant names, the scientific name, the aliases, because some plants have aliases. They go by different names within different books. And all that stuff. And you can break all of those things down for yourself in a book that you've written for yourself of local plants and local things you found in your area. It's been shown and studied that writing things out also for a lot of people helps with memory and memorizing those things. So even just writing your own materia medica can really help your studies. You can also try to look up herb walks. There's a lot of places that have like herbal walks. When I was in Colorado, there were places that had like herbal hikes, and that's where someone with herb knowledge will plan a walk or a hike in an area where local herbs would be. And along that hike, you know, they're kind of stopping and telling you what is and is not usable, edible, all of those great things. And again, obviously bring a notebook or record or whatever you want to do, but also a really great way to kick off your studies in a way that's fun, you know? Now, when it comes to actually opening that book, okay, when it comes to actually opening that book, get your highlighters out, because it's your book. It's your book. Unless you're going to give it to someone else, it's your book. Get your highlighters, get your pens, start underlining, get tabs, start putting tabs on things that you need or would use, like a cold and flu remedy or whatever. Put a tab there. Because, you know, like in your life, you're going to get colds. You're going to need to go back to that. Whip out your highlighters. Any words that you don't understand or you don't know, especially in the biology sections of these books, highlight those with a specific color. Any word that I highlighted in orange was basically a word that I didn't know or had not seen before and wanted to look up for myself, especially to understand the pronunciation and things like that. And then anything that I highlighted in green was kind of more like a fun fact or something that I thought was really cool that I wanted to just do more research on. Like I said, don't be afraid to write in your books. Write in your books, use the margins, you know. Some people don't like highlighters. They feel like it's distracting. Get a pen. Underline things with a pen. Get color-coded pens. Get tabs. Even the words that I don't understand, as I've highlighted them, I'll even make a list of them. Like as I look them up, I'll write it out, make a list, and put the definition next to that word so that I can go back and reference that definition when I'm reading again. Because just because you read the definition once doesn't mean you're going to necessarily remember what it means, especially for some of these really, really big words when we're looking at biology and cells. That will be my biggest recommendations for how to study, how to get in the books, and how to start off your studying, kick off your studying. And yeah, just you can have fun with it. You can get intellectual with it. You know, we really have to broaden our horizons around what plants can provide for us and what they can do. Even something that looks like a house plant could have medicinal use. Really, that's what this all comes down to. That's what this all boils down to at the end, is that anything can have medicinal use. You know, fruits, vegetables, things that we eat every day in the garden, seasonings, how we season our food. You know, rosemary is a seasoning, but it also has medicinal use. Even garlic, all of these things. Celery has medicinal use. And so everything that we eat And every plant that grows can be medicine. It's just about figuring out how it can be medicine. Because maybe it's not the leaves, but maybe it's the root. Do you know what I'm saying? This platform is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so great, but it's going to be really in-depth. And there's a lot to discuss when it comes to plants and plant knowledge and understanding the intersection between nature and our own lives. But it's everywhere. We consume it. We're surrounded by it. It's medicine, it's food, houseplants, flowers, things that we can just have in our house. And all of those things intersect in a really cool way. I plan on making more detailed videos about all of the things. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure to like, leave comments, leave study tips, leave names of books, leave videos, leave names of content creators, anything that you feel like could help the next person. Please, 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 please leave those down below in the comments. Go ahead and give your girl a subscribe. There's a lot to be unpacked. There's a lot to learn, a lot to experience. And we are all living on this great green plant-filled planet together. So I'm really excited to explore that with you guys. So until next time, y'all, talk to your plants because your plants talk. Peace.